welcome to an episode of Rediscovered Movies. I'm your host, Nomfanelo Malloy. So the film that I will be discussing is Young Adult. So Young Adult is a 2011 comedy drama film. It is directed by Jason Reitman, who's known for directing films such as Up in the Air and Saturday Night. The film is written by Diablo Cody, who's known for films such as Juno, which he won an Oscar for original screenplay, and Jennifer's Body. The film stars Charlize Theron, Patrick Wilson, and Patton Oswalt. So here is the synopsis. Soon after her divorce, a fiction writer returns to her home in small town Minnesota, looking to rekindle a romance with her ex-boyfriend, who is now happily married and has a newborn daughter. So the film had a limited release in theaters starting on December 9th, 2011, and expanded widely on December 16th, 2011. It had a budget of $12 million. In terms of box office, it's made over $22.7 million worldwide. It opened number 18 with $310,263. This was domestically. So it was beaten by films including New Year's Eve, The Sitter, and Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1. It moved up to number 10 with over $3.4 million during its wide release during the opening weekend. In regards to critical reception, it has a 3.2 rating on Letterboxd. It was nominated for 3 Critics' Choice Awards, including Best Actress. At the time of this recording, it is available on demand, so check your local provider. Okay, let's get into first discovery. So I think at the time before the movie came out, I did saw a trailer and ads for this movie, which looked interesting. Plus, with Jason Reitman and Diablo Cody reteaming again for this movie after Juno, it piqued my interest. So I saw it when it came out at the time in theaters, and I enjoyed it. I didn't really relate to the character at the time I saw it, but I find like Mavis' character is one of those characters where it's easy to hate, but at the same time you want to like at the same time. And rewatching it now, I find it still holds up. It's still enjoyable to watch, and I find that it works as a comedy with the dramatic elements. So yeah, Diablo Cody did a great job with the screenplay. And yeah, Jason Reitman did well with the direction of the movie. And I thought the acting was superb. I would say Charlize Theron was the highlight of this movie for me, but everyone else did a great job. And I think like Paramount had a missed opportunity when it came to the merch for this movie, is they could have produced like fictionalized versions of the Waverly book series that Mavis writes, and like maybe like if it came out today, if let's say if it was under A24, I mean they would for sure like make copies of the book for people to purchase on their store, and because I know that A24 is one of the few studios that puts up a lot of products and different sorts of merch for the films that they have under their slate. So yeah, it was a missed opportunity for Paramount, but again, you know, it is what it is, I suppose. So let's get into the highlights. So I find the title works for this movie because it doesn't just describe the genre of the books that Mavis's character writes as an author, but in a way, like it shows Mavis lacking the maturity as adults. Because I am assuming that her character is supposed to be in her, what, 40s at that point. So yeah, she is like an adult, but the way that she like behaves throughout this movie does show the lack of immaturity and doesn't want to, I guess, take responsibility or accountability for her actions. And Mavis is an interesting character as the protagonist. Um, Clearly, like, she is a wreck throughout this movie because when we are first introduced to her character, she is like sleeping in with the reality shows in the background. She's renting an apartment with her dog Dolce. The dog is cute, by the way, adorable. Um, Her book series is not doing well because we see at some point in the film the books are on clearance despite the books being on a display, which is hilarious. And yeah, she's under pressure to come up with the final book for the series. But J.K. Simmons, he does an uncredited voice cameo as Mavis's agent. And yeah, like Mavis is a mess throughout this movie. It's interesting that she her her whole outfit is a Hello Kitty t-shirt with these oversized sunglasses and wearing sweats. That is interesting. And I find interesting that her character she wears like hair pieces because it appears that she has a hair condition because we see her tend to scratch her scalp like it's itching or irritating. So maybe she has a sensitive scalp or has some sort of medical condition. It's unclear. But I find like it's rare to see a Caucasian woman wear hair pieces like that for a movie. So yeah, interesting. And it's funny that like when she gets the email that has Buddy and Beth's baby on it, like she's immediately drawn to that, which prompts her to pursue Buddy all the way back to the old town of Mercury. And it's just hilarious how that like crumbles towards the end when she does not accept reality. I'll get to that point later, but yeah, like Mavis goes quite on the journey throughout this movie, which does not work out for her at the end. And I find it was hilarious that she tells people that she's in town for a real estate thing. And I just wondered, like, what real estate thing is this? Like, what is she looking for a house? Or is she like a real estate agent? Like, I mean, as the audience, we know this is BS, but I didn't get what she was trying to tell people with that point. But yeah, she tries to make it seem as if like, you know, her life is busy and perfect, but in reality, it's quite the opposite. And the song, I don't have the name of the song or the artist, but the song that she keeps playing in her car is interesting because I guess in a way it for her it represents like the good time she had with Buddy because the song comes from a mixtape that Buddy made back in high school, which she happens to stumble upon before leaving for the trip. And I guess like in a way that song like becomes like her theme song or her love theme for her and Buddy. And the song overall for me was okay. It didn't do anything for me. And it's funny that later on in the movie, when she sees Beth's band perform for the first time, they perform that song, which clearly pisses her off. So yeah, because I think there like she's even though like she should be pissed at Buddy because in her mind like he's like betraying her by giving that song away. But it seems like she's more mad at Beth and the bandmates for playing that song. But yeah, that is a choice, and I guess it just shows like for Buddy, like it like the song I guess didn't mean mean anything for him. I guess at that point in time, but yeah, it was just hilarious regardless. And the trip I find is interesting that it inspires Mavis to write again because beforehand, like she struggles to come up with any um, lines or notes for the books because she even had to resort to overhearing teenagers' conversation when she's out. And yeah, that was hilarious that she takes certain phrase words and phrases and implements that for the book. And I just wondered, like, with her character, like, was she struggling with writer's block, or she just simply did not want to write this book? I mean, if I were to guess, it seemed like she was dealing with writer's block. Probably because, I don't know, like at this point, nothing is really happening for her as like the popularity of the book is winding down and I guess like her life is is terrible at this point. So, yeah, it's possible that, she just didn't had like any motivation to write this book even though she has to fulfill her, I guess, her commitments and all that stuff. And I want to talk about Mavis and Matt's relationship. It's interesting that they become friends despite being like polar opposites, and because I believe like with Mavis, like she was like the popular girl and the mean girl, while like Matt is like the nerd, or would some say the loser character. And like when they first meet up at the bar, like she clearly did not recognize him, but he recognized her when he kept staring at her. And it wasn't until when she saw his braces when she started to recall Matt, like because of the incident of him getting beaten up by other kids, which left him severely injured and resulting to wearing the brace. And yeah, like that whole relationship was interesting, but maybe like in a way it shows that they somehow connect as you could argue as lost souls, or like they're because they're essentially outcasts. Like even though like Mavis is or was like the popular girl, like when she's back in town, like clearly she does not fit in as she views everyone there essentially beneath her, and as a result does not fit in with the lifestyle that the majority of people have in the small town. The ending, I really enjoyed the ending because I liked how the ending. I wouldn't say it's a satisfactory ending in terms of the happy ending, but it's really like optimistic in regards to Mavis's future. She's she is able to complete her book, which who knows, it could be a bestseller or it could completely flop. But regardless, I guess she's happy that she's concluding the series and also to that chapter of her life as she narrates that part. And even though like things could be looking well for her, it shows that she has the long road ahead of her as she has to try to manage and resort her personal issues that she has. And regards to scenes, I want to highlight some. So when Mavis visits Macy's, I thought that scene was hilarious. Because as she's looking for an outfit for the rock concert, she the sales associate tries to help her out, but then once Mavis tells her that she has that she wants to essentially make Beth jealous, the sales associate is shocked and does not want any part of that. In fact, she makes an excuse to essentially get out of her, saying, "Oh, my shift has ended, and we'll get another person to help her out," which I don't think that's the case. But I just find that whole interaction was hilarious. Also, to another scene, Buddy rejects Mavis, so as the audience, like, we know that yeah, like, Buddy is not interested in Mavis, at least from a romantic lens. And then when Mavis professes her feelings towards Buddy and essentially wanting him to leave town with her, he outright refuses that. I mean, rightfully so, because yeah, like, he has not expressed, any romantic feelings towards Mavis, and is happy with Beth and the family and all that stuff. So, and shows that he is comfortable, like, with his life at Mercury. So yeah, like, once Buddy did that, that's when I knew that all hell broke loose. Which led up to another scene I liked. It was when Mavis had her meltdown when we were outside of Buddy and Beth's house. Because I think she was going to spiral at that point, but it wasn't until Beth spilled the punch on her cashmere shirt is when Mavis lost it. And yeah, I think it was gonna bound to happen, probably regardless of the drink spilled. But yeah, clearly it's embarrassing for the character. But I think at the same time she probably needed to let it all out instead of suppressing those feelings. And probably, like, once she left town, like, the people will be talking all about that stuff. And I think the people that, she's not, like, close with, such as Beth's bandmates, are probably thrilled that this happened. In a way, it kind of acts as, like, revenge for whatever Mavis did to them in high school. So yeah, like, it was not good for the character, but I mean, but just outside of that, it was an entertaining scene. And let's get into lowlights. So I don't really have too much to add for this category. But I will say that I was confused as to whether Mavis was either dealing with a midlife crisis or if she actually has, like, a mental illness. Because clearly her career is not going well and her personal life is not going well, as she's divorced, living alone with Dolce and all that stuff. But then once she arrives at Mercury, all of a sudden she has mental health issues. A question mark. Because she is called crazy for her actions towards Buddy and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm not too convinced it was mental health issues, but clearly she is going through something. Because it is known she had, like, or has the reputation of a mean girl. Which Beth's bandmates claim when they are talking amongst themselves after seeing Buddy and Mavis together before their performance. So yeah, if I were to guess, I would say it's more towards like her dealing with a midlife crisis, because clearly she, is not happy with how her life is at that point. And, she tries the best she can to tell everyone else that her life is great, but in reality, that's not the case. So for me, I would lean towards midlife crisis as to having either psychosis or any mental health issues. Also, too, as a low light, Mavis sleeping with Matt, for me, that just came out of nowhere. I mean, I get that they wanted the characters to connect in some way, but to have them connect that way just did not make sense, because clearly they're friends. I put friends in quotes. I mean, more like acquaintances than friends. But yeah, I just did not get that vibe with them that, anything was happening sexually toward with those characters. So yeah, I just did not get that choice. And also, too, as a low light, I just wondered with Matt's sister, like, does she actually care for Mavis? Because clearly Mavis, does not have any feelings towards Sandra. When Sandra brought up how she made, like, what was it, the Rice Krispies or some treats for Mavis back in high school, which, Mavis clearly does not remember and all that stuff. But then after the day after Mavis sleeps with Matt, I guess Sandra consoles Mavis out because she's, you know, clearly upset after what happened after her meltdown at Buddy and Beth's house. And I think Sandra, I don't know, like in terms of caring for Mavis is the right word. I think Sandra idolizes Mavis, because I guess she wishes she had the life that she believes Mavis has, which we all know clearly that's not what Mavis has. And Sandra wants to like come to Minneapolis with Mavis, which Mavis refused because she's like, "Oh, your life is fine here," and all that stuff. But yet, if that was the case for Sandra, like, how come she didn't express all that stuff beforehand? I don't know. Like, I just think Sandra, like, worships an idealized version of Mavis and maybe just wants to have a life that's more exciting in the big city than having, I guess, a boring life in a small town. I guess that's how Sandra sees it. But yeah, maybe that could have been a bit more clear. And as a final note for this category, Mavis spitting on the printer ink to print the email, I thought was just weird and hilarious. I just wondered, like, does that stuff actually work? To be honest, I doubt it. Especially these days, like when they're being very stingy with ink and printing and all that stuff. I think I heard that I don't know for what company this was, but they charge you need to have a subscription to use a printer, which is mind blowing if that is the case. And but yeah, outside of that, like I just thought that was a weird choice, but like for Mavis to spit on the inker to get it to print, but I guess as a comedy it works. So there's that. So let's get into trivia. So here are some fun facts. So the story was inspired by an article Diablo Cody read about a woman who decided to pursue her high school sweetheart years later. While the article had a happy ending, Cody thought to herself, what if it didn't? And I find that makes sense though, because it doesn't make sense for Mavis to have her fairy tale ending with Buddy. Like, I just felt for this, how the story's framed, it did not make sense. So I would say the ending, as I said, it's more maybe optimistic, even though like it's uncertain where things will go from Mavis. So yeah, I agree with Cody's points on that. So also too, Diablo Cody revealed on Whitney Cummings' Good For You podcast that she wrote the film with Reese Witherspoon or Gwyneth Paltrow in mind to play Mavis Carey. That's an interesting choice. Yeah, because I could kind of see that happening for either or, like if it didn't work out with Charlize Theron, but I do think Charlize Theron was the right choice to play the character at the end. Also, too, Charlize, yeah, speaking of Charlize, she was Jason Reitman's first and only choice for the lead role. So, yeah, like, as I said, like, she did a great job with this movie and was the right call. Also, too, when they were casting the movie, Jason Reitman asked Diablo Cody what she thought about Patton Oswalt for the role of Matt. And if the writer knew the actor's role, Cody replied, deadpan, "Are you serious?" This, of course, because Oswalt was a semi-regular actor on Cody's TV show, The United States of Tara. I find that's interesting. But yeah, like Patton Oswalt, he did a great job with this role. So yeah, he was the right fit for the role. Also, too, the word processor file in which Mavis composes her novel throughout the film is titled "Piece of Shit." Dog. I think yeah, like it's funny, but I think also too that's yeah, I would say that's something Mavis' character would do, as she did not have the motivation to work on the novel. And then last note, the bookstore Mavis visits in the film was going out of business while filming, and it is now closed, which is unfortunate. So, should this movie be rediscovered? And I say absolutely yes. I find like it's well written. I thought Diablo Cody did a great job with the screenplay. Jason Reitman did a good job with the directing, and yeah, the acting was great. The music, I could, didn't really do anything for me. Like it was okay, but it's not something that I would re-listen to. But yeah, I recommend this movie. So check it out on your preferred platform that's available to you. So that concludes this episode of the podcast. So you can find me on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Linktree at Nomfanelo. You can find the podcast on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Linktree at RD Movies Pod. If you'd like to support the podcast, you could visit buymeacoffee.com/RDMoviesPod to donate. On the Spotify app, you could answer the feature poll, leave a comment, and rate the podcast. On Apple Podcasts, you can leave a review and rate the podcast. And you could submit questions, comments, and suggestions by email, which is rediscoveredmovies@gmail.com, to be featured on the after show, which will air after the season finale. So I want to say thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to catch you on the next one.